Hey everybody, it's Katie and Alex with Team EvoAZ. There he is, my partner in crime, my buddy, my sidekick. It's always so
What's
nice
up,
to talk to you.
everyone? Always nice to talk to you. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Well, thank you for being on with me on this lovely Friday,
Yeah,
almost afternoon, talking about preparing homes for sale. We've done that once or twice, would you say?
absolutely. Just once or twice.
Maybe 3 or 4 times. So we've done it a couple times. We must know a thing or two. So let's jump right into it and talk tips on preparing a home for sale. This is going to be more, some of these tips are going to be okay for anybody throughout the country, but it's going to be probably more AZ specific because that is the
Yeah,
market that we work in. So if those of you, those of you watching don't know who we are, I am Katie Lambert with Team EvoAZ. This is Alex, also with Team EvoAZ, and we work the greater Phoenix metro area of Arizona and have been for pushing 18 years now.
yep.
So let's talk about it. So we've got 6 tips today about how to prepare your home for sale. I know, we talk with sellers on all different kind of levels of the process. Like we talk with sellers who they've done it 1,000 times before. They kind of know what to do. They know, what little things are going to make the biggest bang for their buck, or, give their home the most sparkle, the most pop. But then some are completely clueless. Maybe this is their first house, or maybe they've moved from a completely different area of the country and things are just different here.
Yeah. Or it's just been a while.
Or it's just been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get all sorts of different questions, and today's little chit chat is going to help answer some of those questions. So first and foremost, I think, our biggest tip, and of course it's a little self-serving, right? Because this is what we do, but it's really, really important. And our biggest tip, I would say, is to make sure that you get experienced representation to help guide you through the process, and do that early. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
And for me, the reason for that is I'm a preparer. I like to be prepared. I like to know what's coming next. I like to have my expectations set. So for anybody who is like that, who is a preparer, who wants to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, getting an agent earlier on, I think, is more beneficial because they can kind of walk you through the process and the timetable.
Absolutely. I agree. And some people might think that their home is already ready for a sign in their yard and for people to come in, but not necessarily. It is always great to get our advice before we start taking that step forward.
Right. And we're not going to be able to go through absolutely every little thing that every single seller on the planet should do to prepare their particular home here in this video. It's really a customizable thing. Would you agree? Like, it just depends on what their home is, what their goals are, what the situation is, what the market conditions are.
Absolutely.
There's so many factors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every single home is a different canvas, I guess you could say.
Totally. And we have some tools that I quite like that we've developed over the last couple of years. And any good agent's going to have the same tools, in their tool chest to give to their sellers. We have things like little checklists, staging checklists. We do have a stager that we can bring in, things like that. So there's a lot of stuff to discuss prior to putting that sign in the yard. And there's a lot of little tools that you should have in your tool belt to get you there. And an experienced representation is going to help with that.
Oh, yeah.
So our next little tip, and this one I think a lot of people kind of run into, and it's an interesting little rabbit hole to jump down if you do get started. And that is basically upgrading the home. And I would say, Alex, having done this over 870 times, our biggest advice would be do not over upgrade.
Absolutely. Don't over upgrade. And focus on the most pivotal areas of your house if you are going to consider upgrading before you sell.
Totally agree. And this warrants a discussion because a lot of people think, oh, well, I put in that backsplash and that cost me X amount of dollars. So now the purchase price of my home should go up that same amount of dollars, right?
Yeah. Most sellers agree to that. Most sellers have that idea and think that. But what it's actually doing is it's causing more appeal to your home. It's not causing a price increase. It's causing more appeal rather than, you getting dollar for dollar for what that backsplash gave you.
Right. However, there are a couple of things that we can do, and this is more case by case. So this is something where we get together either on Zoom right now, which is what we're doing a lot of, or we sit down in the property and go over, the idea of upgrading and what to update and things like that. But I will say that first and foremost, out of, across the board, out of every meeting that we have had, and every home that we have sold, I will say that the kitchen is probably the most important room to update, or if you're going to do anything. And the kitchen is going to give you more opportunity to get more bang for your buck. Would you agree with 100%.
That? Absolutely. I mean, it's where we spend the most of our time. It's where most people gravitate towards while we're showing properties, is getting towards that kitchen. So yeah, most definitely.
I feel like when we walk through the door and we go and talk with, somebody that's about to list and they've done their kitchen or their kitchen is fabulous, I breathe a little sigh of relief. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, the rest of the house doesn't have to be quite this great, but as long as the kitchen's great, we're good.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
But there are a couple of other things that, we typically suggest to most people that are inexpensive things that you can do to help increase your home's appeal. And along with the staging checklist and a couple of other checklists and goodies and things like that, we actually have a little page, a little form, whatever. It's actually on our website. It's a page on our website that helps guide our sellers into these little inexpensive things that they can do to increase appeal. High on my list, just personally, as a professional and as a homeowner, I feel like paint and landscaping go a long, long way.
Oh, 100%. I mean, what's the first thing you do is you roll up to a property, you drive to a property. What are they going to see? They're going to see the exterior of your home first. If they don't see that you picked your weeds, or the paint is chipping on your fascia or your house, if they see those things, they're going to see lack of care, and it's just not going to pop as much, So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's not as inviting, and paint is something amazing, man. I'll tell you, like paint, right? Paint can do wonders.
Yeah.
We've walked into homes that I know we've both looked at each other and was like, I don't know. And then we've walked back in and they've been painted interior and exterior, and it just makes a whole world of difference.
Oh, 100%. It like we said, it's your first impression. You have, I think, a huge thing that I see. So on the buyer side, when I'm walking a buyer through a property, are going to be, and a lot of experienced real estate agents are going to look at your fascia boards. They're going to see if they're chipping. They're going to see if there's stains on them, or they're going to be looking if there's any wood rot on them. All of those things. So, the paint around it is going to make them pop and kind of, I guess, drift your eye away from it, I guess you could say, or make it more appealing, I guess you could say, to your vision. So yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely things to repair, and anything water damage, any fascia board that's peeling, things like that, definitely makes a huge difference to get that repaired and painted. I totally agree. So I've popped up on the screen one of the pages that we offer, one of the tools that we offer for our sellers. And this is that short list of things that are fairly inexpensive that really increase your home's appeal. And I quite like this list. So a couple of them we've already talked about, in terms of landscaping, keeping your grass cut, remove your yard clutter, make that yard look as big as possible, put all the stuff in one section of the yard, either in the side yard, something like that, make it as neat as possible and as large as possible. Keeping the weeds down. Here in Arizona, it rains one day, the sun's out the next, and all of a sudden you got weeds this big, right? So keeping up on top of that is important. If you guys need anybody to help you with these things, Alex and I mean, gosh, we've been in business so long that we have a good little team of professionals that we refer all the time, landscapers, handymen, painters, things like that. So if you guys need any help with that, definitely reach out. We're happy to refer to you, our tried and trues. They're all such good people. So happy to share their name and number with you. Back to the list. So applying fresh paint. Oh, wow. Paint and landscaping are first on the list. Funny that. Tightening and cleaning all the door handles, that does make a difference. I agree with that. Cleaning the windows inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
Makes them look nice and clean, I would say it even makes the house look a little bit larger.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with that nice light coming in, just really makes a big difference. So let's talk about letting in the light real quick, because that is actually one of our six tips today. Tell me what it's like when you walk into a home with a buyer and all the blinds are drawn and all the lights are off, and like, tell me what, like, does that just kill your mood? Like, what's that like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything you can do to make the home as homey as possible. And one of the biggest things to do that is drawing in light. And I swear, yeah, 9 times out of 10, when I walk into a house with the blinds down, all of those things, I can just look at my buyer's face and just know. Just know it's not going to give them the warm and fuzzy feeling. So yeah, as much as you can, especially if you're not selling your home in the summertime, keep those blinds up or remove the screens from your windows.
I would.
And keep them in the garage. I mean, offer them to your buyer. Hey, put the screens back on at close if you want to, but take them off. Draw as much light in as possible, and it makes a world of difference. I agree.
Yeah, and I agree with keeping the screens. You're going to need those. Those are going to get called out on an inspection.
Yep, that's true.
And even if you are selling in the summertime, let's face it, the quicker you sell, the less you have to keep the blinds open, the less that you have to have people coming through your home. So let's do what we can to get that home sold quickly, which is really letting in the light, removing the sunscreens, opening up the blinds, opening up the drapes, having the lights on for showings if you can. I know sometimes, Alex, you'll try to get there a little bit early and flip all the lights on if possible. But I mean, if you're in the middle of a tour and this is house number 5 in the middle of 10, sometimes that might be a little bit difficult to do. So whatever sellers can do to help out in that respect is really beneficial to us and to them in turn.
Yeah, and we coach each one of our sellers, and I think we're going to get to that on being prepared for each showing as well. So if it's a vacant property and, like you said, I can't make it there, 5-10 minutes before, we'll coach you guys through, hey, this is the best way to present your property for a showing.
Yeah, for sure. It makes such a big difference because really the first impression, I mean, just think about when you meet somebody. The first impression is like, 60 seconds maybe?
Yeah.
So it's like your home is meeting, hopefully they're new homeowners, right, for the first time. So we want to make that best impression, whatever we can do to make them fall in love. We're looking for love here, people. Make them fall in love in that first 60-second time period is going to be your best bet toward getting an offer, and a good offer from that buyer.
I agree. And it's not like the buyer is going to ask their agent to open up all the blinds.
Sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes they don't even know why the home is giving them not a nice, light, positive feelings. Sometimes they don't know at all. And often it's because it's too dark in there.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So keep your windows clean, screens off, all kinds of tips for that. Power washing the home's exterior. Make it look nice and clean. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to paint. Maybe you don't need to paint because you just did a year or two ago. But power washing the exterior, it's very dusty here in Arizona. It's like today, I don't know about you, but here in Ahwatukee it's so crazy windy. And a little bit of wind and our dust, boom, dirty, everything. I mean, think about your back patio table. I don't know if you have one or if you eat out there often, but I do. Think about how often you have to clean that, like every day.
Yep.
So this stuff is sticking to your house constantly every day. Ensuring all gutters and downspouts are firmly attached and funcking. Oh, that's the worst when you pull up to a house and the wind just like, the right? You can hear it. It's like, because it's not fastened appropriately. Definitely keep those clean and fasten. Some people don't have gutters. It's not super duper common here in Arizona. It's really common where I come from. It's probably common where you come from. But if you've got these downspouts and if you've got these gutters, definitely make sure they're clean and fastened. Painting the front door.
Oh yeah.
Not a lot of people think about that.
Yeah.
But if the exterior paint is not an option or it's not necessary, changing the color of the front door, or just making it a nice, fresh color. Like, remember that front door that we painted in that historic home 2 years ago that we sold over off of Pasadena? Remember how
Oh
just
yeah.
fresh and amazing, just changing the door color.
Oh, it just made it pop, and putting little potted plants right next to it. Oh, that's
Yep.
two down, but it
Yep.
just makes it pop. Right when you come up, it just looks like, come on in, you know? So yeah, the
Super
front door
inviting.
makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Curb appeal is everything, guys. Paint the front door, buy a welcome mat like Alex suggested, and put some, potted flowers in some colorful pots, matching, preferably colorful pots at the front door. That's just, that just spells home to me, doesn't it to you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you could be marketing a vacant property, but at the same time, you don't want it to just feel like it's lifeless, because, an empty property can. So you want to bring some life to the property. You want to make it inviting. So I think, right when you're on the doorstep, that front door, the potted plants, it just makes it look like you want to walk inside. You want to see what's inside. It makes other people feel invited to your property as well.
Totally agree. So let's talk about, okay, signs in the yard, paperwork is signed, we're good to go, we're starting to show now.
Mm-hmm.
I have found over the years that properties sell quicker and for more money when they are available to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in other words, sellers make it as easy as possible to show your home. Like,
Yeah.
I understand you have pets, maybe you sleep nights, maybe you have kids, all of that kind of stuff. That's fine. And we can work around that, but discuss with your professional representation what your humps are,
Yeah.
and what your restrictions are. And we'll work with you on how to make it most available, but still pay attention to those restrictions and not put you out too much. Because
Exactly.
really, honestly, like, if you're not making it convenient and available to show, you're going to sit on the market longer. It's going to be more of a hassle for you anyway. So you might as well work with your professional on making it as available as possible so that it's only a limited amount of time.
Yeah, I agree. And the technology we have for showings now makes it so much easier for the seller to accept showings or request a change of schedule or all of those things. So it's the technology we've been using lately has made it easier for to allow sellers to be very flexible with their showing schedules.
That's a great point. And if your agent is not using technology, like if you're not getting a text message that shows the date, the time for showing, and gives you an opportunity to accept or decline it, some of our same system, but some of our clients that aren't necessarily text friendly will get an email or a phone call through this automated system. So that way they're finding out exactly when this person is requesting that. So the seller is notified immediately. If your professional representation is not using technology like this, you really need to get new professional representation, because you could be letting buyers walk through the door. Alex, not walk through the door, slip through your fingers, basically.
Not even in the door.
Yeah, they won't even be in the door. They won't even care. Because tell me what it's like, Alex, when you are scheduling showings. It's typical probably to look at, 5 to 10 homes a day, let's say, when you're out there with your buyers, right? So talk to me about when you've got a property that you've got to call every Tom, Dick, and Harry to get approval to go into the house, or if you don't get a hold of anybody, or there's no response, or it's, you have to jump through several hoops just to get into the house. Like, you and your buyer, like, what are you guys doing? Like, what's the conversation like when that happens?
Yeah, it's tough because you don't want to turn down buyer's agents or turn off buyer's agents from approaching or to access your property. So when I have to, let's say, reach out to the seller directly or reach out to the agent directly and all of these things, and they're non-responsive, that stinks. And what sometimes, and if I'm getting to the wire where my first showing is at 3:30 and, you know, I don't get a response until 5 minutes before I'm about to step through the door, you know, and then sometimes my client will be like, oh, I really want to see that house, blah, blah, blah. It hurts.
It's
And
disheartening. Yeah.
exactly, it's disheartening, and you never know, oh, you know, I'm sorry I missed your call. Can you still show? Or I'm sorry I missed your call. Can you show tomorrow? The buyer might forget about your house. You know,
Or they may be like, screw it. I don't want it. That person's too hard to deal with. That's huge. Because what does it tell us when we can't even get into the house, when it's such a hassle to get into the house? What does that tell us about what the rest of the transaction might be like?
Oh yeah, the way you deal, your first impression is also the showing too. So making that hard from the beginning, it could show how you will be through the rest of the contract if you do move forward with that property. So yeah, just eliminate as many things that turn down or turn off people as possible.
Quite frankly, it's a huge red flag for me.
100%.
Because we've been through this for years and years and years, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, almost 1,000 houses now. And quite frankly, I turn around and tell my buyers, you know what? If it's this much of a pain to get into the house, they're obviously not motivated. If it's this much of a pain to get in touch with their agent, what's it going to be like when we're under contract? And we need to, because we have an emergency, because we have a time frame, because we have a deadline, because how is it going to be once we're under contract with these people? You might want to consider that.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. I have that conversation with them. I tell them exactly what I think, because the impression of the professional representative that you're dealing with will make or break your deal. I don't care what you think. I don't care who you are. It's really up to those two professionals communicating appropriately, doing their job, and using technology.
Absolutely. I mean, we can be a first impression too before they even walk through the door of your listing. So you absolutely need to portray a certain detail and certain, going ahead and above and beyond for your listing in the first week of your listing too. So I 100% agree. Yeah.
As representation on the seller side, which I do a lot of, it really makes a big difference how you treat those buyers agents as they come in. Giant.
Yeah.
So if your professional representative is impolite, is non-responsive, that kind of stuff, it's not a very good sign. And unfortunately, there's a lot of agents that still think that, being argumentative and throwing their weight around is a good way to do business in this day and age.
Not really.
Not a good way. No. Next question, or tip rather, but it's a question to you. So let's pretend I'm a seller and I'm getting ready to put my house on the market, just thinking about it now. Do I need to get an appraisal or an inspection first?
No. The appraisal, you have to trust. Well, we're going to be your broker price opinion. Okay. Right. What we're going to do is we're going to pull up the most accurate comparable sales in your property. And when I say comparable sales, it's going to be 180 days of sales. The most accurate are going to be within your subdivision. Okay. Now, when we take those, we also are going to consider the upgrades that he will have put into place in your property. Now, Katie and I have seen thousands of appraisals. So we know the price adjustments for the upgrades in your property. We know what a bigger lot's going to do. We know what an upgraded kitchen is going to do. We know the difference of a price adjustment from a home with a pool and no pool. Okay? So trust us to give you that broker price opinion rather than spending $500 to $700 on appraisal beforehand. Okay?
Well, and the appraisal that you get that is not tied into a purchase transaction is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a bit of a different approach. And I've been through this a lot. I've had a lot of sellers that have come to the table and said, well, we already got an appraisal. Didn't I do a great job? And I say, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good to know. Any information is good, but 9 times out of 10, we're pricing it at higher than that appraisal came in.
Yeah.
And it's because, all those things that you said about comparables, but really current market conditions have a huge impact on listing prices and what you should hit the streets at when it's time to list. Like when you hit the streets, when you hit the MLS, when you're formal, when you're out there, what is that price? That is going to be largely determined by comparables, as you said, but really driven by market conditions and what's going on right now. That appraisal that you have is probably not going to consider that, especially if you got it 6 months ago or something.
Yeah. And guess what? Every appraiser is different. An appraisal is subjective. So the person, let's say you take a financed offer and you accept it, the appraisal that the buyer may get is maybe totally different than the one that you got before you listed.
It more than likely would be. It more than likely would be. So I totally agree with you. Don't worry about spending the money. We'll help guide through that. And we have lots of tools in which to do so. Mm-hmm. So what about getting an inspection first? We've had that question a lot.
Yeah. I don't think you should get an inspection on your property either, because the reason for that is you want to take care of what's glaring in your property, okay? What's going to be seen by the naked eye or even the untrained eye. So you want to obviously take care of those obvious items that you see that are going to need to be taken care of. Now, other than that, an inspector is going to go through your house way more deeply than anybody else is going to, but you don't know what that buyer is going to do when you go under contract with that property. You don't know what items they're going to want to request to repair. So why spend money on all these repairs when you have a question mark on what that buyer is going to ask for when they come in? You know?
In other words, you may be working for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I feel like there are some things that are important to fix. Like if your roof is actively leaking.
Yep.
Unless you have a total fixer-upper and it's just an as-is sale. And again, that's a conversation with your representation, right? Because there is a price for that. There is a price that will sell, and you won't have a problem selling it.
Absolutely.
So it's up for discussion. But let's just say you're going out for the biggest bang for your buck. I would fix things that are a hazard. So I would consider that a hazard. I would consider if you've got, electrical wires dangling, things like that. Like, fix the things that are a hazard. Like if you were to show the property, you don't want to be telling people, okay, you need a helmet and, all this, aside from your face mask and your gloves to go through the property.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, anything that's glaring, anything that's apparent, anything that you most definitely know needs to be taken care of, do those. But anything that, the untrained eye or the naked eye, wait for the buyer to get the inspection. And plus, again, that's another $300 to $400, or depending on the house size, that you're going to be spending to get that inspection on your property.
Right. So don't worry about those two things. We're going to help guide you through that stuff. Mm-hmm. My last tip, can you believe that we've gotten through our list so quickly? So my last tip is timing. I get that question a lot. When is the best time to sell? Mm-hmm. And so I looked over statistics for the last 10 years. Well, I really don't need to look over the statistics, truth be told, I know them. So we look over them all the time, right? Over the last 10 years, you can literally see in the graph from April to August, it does this. So it goes up from April to August. So that means our real estate activity is a bit higher year over year in year after year, I should say, from April to August. Mm-hmm. So that's when it's really busy, when lots of homes are selling. So we always talk about that time of year when I talk with sellers. Here in Arizona, that's what it is. It could be different in other states. But what's important to know about that is if from April to August doesn't work, maybe you got a job transfer, or maybe, you just really need to downsize and you can't wait, or maybe you need to upsize and you can't wait. Like maybe there's just other things going on in your life that are dictating when it's time to sell your home. Don't hang your hat on April to August. Yeah. Because houses sell all year long. This just seems to be when they sell the most. But here's the other thing. That's also when we list the most properties too. So there's more competition out there in the market for you as a seller. So that's something to also keep in mind. Yeah, activity might be high, but listings are high too. And we're even seeing that now, even with the, the stuff that's going on in the world. We're still seeing that happen now, aren't we, Alex? We had our team meeting this morning, and we're seeing, inventory levels are starting to tick up a bit. That's normal. That's natural for this time of year. Okay. Buyers are really getting out there and starting to buy. That's normal and natural for this time of year.
Absolutely. I mean, as we get more into that spring season and even closer to summer, it naturally upticks. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not to say that you can't sell your home around Christmas time, because how busy were we in December? Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Yeah. December trailing into January this year we didn't get our Christmas break that we normally get.
Yeah.
We didn't get it at all. It was extremely busy. So I just want to make sure that is really clear. This is not to say that homes do not sell quickly or well any other time of year, because we can in fact help you do that. But I get asked a lot, when's the most real estate activity here in Arizona? There's your answer, April to August. Well, those are my 6 tips. Anything else that you'd like to add for our audience that we didn't talk about? I mean, I know it's so hard because there's so much stuff to say.
Yeah, and I mean, just like we went over earlier, every house is a case-by-case basis. Those 6 tips, I mean, for another property, it could turn into 7 or 8. We could create a vision for each one of your properties on what you'll have to do moving forward to get your house, the most market and to get it ready to sell. So yeah.
Exactly. That certainly isn't the be all end all list. It's just a couple of good basics for you to keep in mind to kind of help you along. Also, if you would like to get a copy of that little tips to increase your home's appeal, I can definitely send that to you. Let's see, my phone number actually. Ooh, my phone number is in the caption today. And then also I've got a little gift for you guys. We have some free moving resources, which include a couple of things. There's a moving checklist in there, which is amazing. It takes you from 2 months prior to your move and brings you through the steps of absolutely everything that you need to do to prepare to move. It's really, really intensely amazing. So definitely get your hands on that. It's just a checklist you can follow, makes things really, really easy for your move, especially if you're moving across country or, fairly far. What else do we have on there? We have school information, like ways to compare schools on there. We've got a budget worksheet on there, which is really cool. We've got an address change checklist. You know how when you move, you're like, oh my gosh, did I change my address with them? Did I change it with them? Did I change it with them? This kind of gives you a list of everybody to contact to change your address. So those are some awesome free resources. If you text EvoAZ 100 to 480-508-9828, you will get our free resources. And that is also in the caption as well. All right, guys, I hope that you all have an awesome weekend. And again, just remember, advice is still free. If you have any questions at all about buying, selling, investing in real estate, please contact us. And you can do so by going to our page, clicking on message, or you can shoot me a text message. My phone number is in the caption. All right, Alex. It's been real. We'll see you at your virtual open house later.
Sounds good. Everybody tune in. I'll be there at 5 p.m.
Awesome. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.